Few would argue jumping on turtles and throwing fireballs at octopi isn't hard work. If anyone's earned a vacation for services rendered, it's Mario. And after 20 years of rescuing princesses and stomping Goombas, Nintendo finally rewarded the world's hardest working plumber with a long overdue beach vacation.
To the sun-drenched tropical paradise of Isle Delfino.
Mario caught a few rays, a bit of a tan, and lots of backlash. This is Super Mario Sunshine, the sixth release in the main Super Mario series, as well as one of the most controversial among its fans. In a way, that legacy isn't much of a surprise. No matter how close the game might have come to hanging a perfect 10, it was riding some pretty harsh waves. Putting Mario into such a foreign environment instantly prompted skepticism from Gamecube owners, many of whom had already formed unreasonable expectations while they waited for Sunshine. After all, the game released almost a year after the launch of the Gamecube, marking the first time a Nintendo system hit retail without a Super Mario title. Throw in that it was coming on the heels of the groundbreaking Super Mario 64, and it's easy to see why Sunshine was swimming against the current. Of course, it must have been doing so in a frog suit. Contrary to the off-point claims of its naysayers, Super Mario Sunshine is a tremendous game, very much worthy of the esteemed gaming bloodline to which it belongs. Now, there are plenty of things about Sunshine any seasoned Mario player will find familiar, but for many, what defined this game is the myriad of things it did differently. Most obviously, familiarities once considered sacred elements of any Mario game were nowhere to be found in Super Mario Sunshine. You see, there are no floating bricks on Isle Delfino, and polka-dotted portobellos tall enough to reach the sky can't exactly grow in the sand. This tropical island doesn't even have a single Koopa fortress. Instead, there's sun-drenched amusement parks, towering waterfalls, bustling beachside marketplaces. Every location on Isle Delfino is designed around the concept of a tropical paradise, and it gives Sunshine a consistent and meticulously crafted oceanfront aesthetic. Of course, it's about more than just the setting. Sunshine also benefits from a spectacular soundtrack that also plays on those tropical themes, and combined with the environments, they give the game a very distinct flavor. A flavor, many argue, that's a bit too distinct. The assertion that Sunshine just doesn't feel like a Mario game is a common one, yet the heaviest burden Mario carries in Sunshine is the one he carries on his back. Even more divisive than its themes and locations, the addition of Flood has always been the most contentious aspect of this game. But frankly, like the sand and sun, it's actually a benefit to Super Mario Sunshine. Flood is a water-fueled jetpack Mario wears throughout the game, enabling him plenty of slick new moves. He can hover across wide gaps, he can blast into the air, he can spray enemies, and it's all dependent on water. Now, this is great design for a few reasons. First, it makes you consistently aware of water, where to get it, and how much you have. Also, it makes platforming at high altitudes much easier and smoother. These effects are deliberate because the levels generally revolve around two concepts: water and height. So you see, criticisms that Flood is just some arbitrary addition that detracts from the experience are totally missing the point. The entire game is designed around the water pack. It ties together the themes of the levels and their high-altitude platforming gameplay, bringing together the functionality and the aesthetics of Sunshine's level design in a really brilliant way. As a result, few stages in the history of the series have offered the kind of elaborate platforming of levels like Sunshine's Noki Bay and Pianta Village, both of which take Mario to staggering new heights. Of course, given the wealth of jumping and hovering abilities you have thanks to Flood, they also afford deeper gameplay possibilities than perhaps Mario ever had before. Obviously, there are a lot of things Sunshine does differently, but at the same time, this isn't exactly Super Mario Bros. 2 either. It may have some ambitious new design elements, But it doesn't abandon the status quo, it still plays like a Mario title. Familiar enemies like wigglers, bloopers, and piranha plants appear throughout the game, as do a few classic objectives. Find a Yoshi to ride, collect red coins. There are even a few very nostalgic and very challenging levels filled with lots of old-school Mario platforming. These levels are incredibly engaging to play through, and in retrospect, they feel like obvious blueprints for what would become Super Mario Galaxy. So to say this game doesn't feel like a Mario game is to pay only superficial attention to its themes and aesthetics. In reality, Sunshine toes an impressive balance between invention and establishment. It never forgets that it's a Super Mario game, but by building on its run-and-jump gameplay conventions, it also elaborates upon the core concepts that have made the series so popular for so long. Of course, that's not to say it's on the same level as a Super Mario Bros. 3 or a Super Mario Galaxy. To be fair, Sunshine isn't without a few nagging flaws. The camera is often very frustrating, almost to the point of being broken. An anticlimactic final battle with Bowser also reflected a few questionable design choices, and those pervasive tropical themes do come at the cost of variety. They make the game feel cohesive, but they also bring a feeling of smallness to Super Mario Sunshine that you just don't find in other Super Mario titles. And yet, relative to the game as a whole, these shortcomings are merely grains of sand. Forget the complaints you've heard in game stores and read on internet forums. This game released to critical acclaim for a reason. A modern Nintendo classic, this is one of the Gamecube's best releases, not to mention one of the most enjoyable and refreshing Super Mario games of all time. And if you can wash away your preconceptions, a tremendous experience filled with tropical fruits and towering platforming awaits you on Isle Delfino and in the underrated and over-criticized Super Mario Sunshine.